Who would have thunked it? We have less players available this week than we did last week. Welcome back, new and returning viewers, to the 4th episode of Talking Timbers. I'm starting to lose count now, but today's video is a match preview of tonight's game at Providence Park at home to Chicago Fire. So a lot has changed since the last Timbers game against Sporting KC. Believe it or not, we have more players unavailable this week than last week, and there has been a resignation amongst the backroom staff at the Timbers. Now, I'll talk about those things a little later in the video, and I'll also talk about Chicago Fire, my match preview or my match team that I would pick for tonight's game, and my score prediction. But before any of that, I just want to thank you guys for the support recently since I started the channel, Talking Timbers. You guys have been unbelievable, whether it be on Reddit, in the YouTube comments, liking the videos, subscribing, anything on Twitter. All those sort of things help give me a lot of confidence and determination to make more Portland Timbers videos, and more videos that are to a high quality that you guys enjoy. So thank you very much, much appreciated. So the players that were out for last week's game against Sporting Kansas City are still out. These are Orocoyo, Barmby, Ridgewell, Akugo and Diego Chara, with David Guzman being out on international duty. However, this group of unavailable players has increased this week against the Fire to also having Darren Mattocks and Alvarez Powell away on Gold Cup duty for Jamaica, international duty, and we also have questionable Darlington Nagbe and Chance Myers, although both were in the squad for last week's game against Sporting KC. Chance Myers was on the bench, but he's not really up to match fitness, so I doubt we'll again not feature in this game coming up against the Fire, and hopefully, fingers crossed, Nagbe will feature, and we'll have to wait and see. Now, some big injury news was that Liam Ridgewell has re-injured himself, as I said in the last video, but he's actually re-injured himself for another 6 to 8 weeks. So he's already been out for about 4 weeks, and he's now going to be out for a further 6 to 8, which is not good stuff when he's our captain, one of our best defenders, and will be out for probably looking like maybe the rest of the season if he can't get things healed. So some other news that came along with Ridgewell's injury extension was the fact that a backroom staff member had resigned. So a couple of days ago, it was announced that head athletic trainer and director of sports medicine Nick Wild had resigned from his position at the club. Now, the Timbers didn't announce the reasons for his departure, but when you take into account all the players that we've had injured recently and big key players that will be starting games, it doesn't look good for Wild and the rest of the medical staff. And being head athletic trainer, you're in charge of preventing injuries, treating injuries and rehabbing them. So when you have players like Ridgewell given the all clear by the medical staff to come back and train, and then injuring himself for another 6 to 8 weeks in that training session, it doesn't look good for him. Now, taking all of that into consideration, Nick Wild decided to resign from the club, meaning that T2 head athletic trainer Taichi Kitagawa will now join the Timbers first team medical staff. So going back to the injuries again, we've got so many that the Timbers are, almost able to use the extreme hardship rule that the MLS has. So if you don't know what that means, I'll read out the definition here on the MLS website. Clubs may add players to their roster in cases of extreme hardship. Extreme hardship exists when an MLS club has fewer than 4 available outfield substitutes, less than 14 outfield players available in total, or has fewer than 2 goalkeepers available. Now, the Timbers are on the verge of being able to use this call-up system, as in the starting lineup we have obviously 10 outfield players, and then we've only got 4 outfield players on the bench. These being Myers, Farfan, Arboleda and Ebobisse, with the other substitute being Atenella, the substitute goalie. So we're very close to being able to use this, and if we did, it means that we can have a T2 player join the team for about 4 days or up to 16 days and play in competition until we have more players fit. This kind of just puts it into perspective how many injured players and players out on international duty we actually have. I mean, it's quite ridiculous at the moment, and it's seriously putting an effect on the squad, whether it be starting lineup or the bench, and overall affecting results. So the Chicago Fire come into this game tonight at Providence Park in fine form. They're unbeaten in their last 10 MLS games, having won 8 of them, which put them top of the MLS Supporters Shield. Now, if you don't know what this is, it's basically where the 2 conferences come together to create one big league, and Chicago Fire are at the top of that. So the Fire are being led by their fierce attack, which includes Nemanja Nikolic, which is the leading scorer for the Chicago Fire on 16 goals this season, closely followed by David Akam, who's on 10 goals. And with behind them you've got Juninho and possibly Bastian Schweinsteiger, who could be available for the game. He's nursing a hip injury, so we're not too sure yet. But yeah, it's a very fierce attack, and they've got quite a strong defence too, which has obviously led to them being unbeaten in 10 games, and it's going to be a tough game for the Timbers. So to put it into numbers or statistics, Chicago Fire have played 18 games, won 11, lost 3 and drawn 4. They've on average scored 1 goal away and conceded an average of 1.6 goals away. So tonight's game against Chicago will actually be their 4th in the last 12 days, all competitions. Now, tiredness hasn't really seemed to affect them, as in the last game, without Dax McCarthy and David Akam, they actually still battered Vancouver 4-0. So they've got both strength and depth in squad, and they're keen, fit players. So moving on to the team that I personally would like to see fielded tonight against Chicago. Now, taking into consideration how many injuries we have and players unavailable, I'm pretty sure this could be very close to the team that might actually be fielded, as in the defence, midfield and attack, we don't have many options. So in goal we have Jake Gleeson, a bit of a no-brainer. I didn't think he did a lot wrong in the Sporting KC game. If you actually watched their goal, it was a great move at the end of the day, but he actually got a hand to it. Now, someone would say that he should have done better, but in my opinion, it was a good goal, and it's not a save that I would expect him to make. I mean, I don't know, it's a difficult one, but I think he's the best keeper that we have, and he's my number 1 pick. In the defensive line, from right to left, we have Zarek Valentin, Olum, Miller, and Vitas. In all honesty, although Powell is away on international duty, I think he would have actually been dropped for this game and Valentin would have replaced him. A lot of people gave him stick for the goal conceded against Sporting KC, and maybe rightly so. And I think the fact that Caleb Porter decided to sub him for Valentin after the goal kind of shows that he probably was going to drop him anyway. But he's off on international duty, so it's a bit of a no-brainer at right back. Valentin it is. So the 2 centre-backs, Miller and Olum. Now, these were a kind of forced partnership due to injury that we used against Sporting KC, and I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, they played very well together. They limited Sporting KC to a lot of long-range efforts, never really gave them a clear sight on goal, so I was very pleased and would happily have them as the 2 centre-backs. Now, last week in the match preview to Sporting KC, I said that I would have Vitas and Olum at the back with Farfan left back. Now, I don't really stick to that now. I think that these two do make a good pairing from what I've seen. And hopefully tonight they can do the business as well and limit them to as few chances as possible. So at left back I've gone for Vitas over Farfan. I thought at Sporting KC he did very well, both athletically and technically. He held his own, stood up to his man well. And I think it will be interesting to see how he, Miller and Olum and Valentin do at the back against Chicago, holding off some good strikers and good wingers. So as the 2 central defensive midfielders, I've gone for Nagbe and Zemansky. Now this is the same partnering that played at Sporting KC, and I think they did very well. They kind of tied towards the second half and maybe allowed too much time and space for the opposition, and kind of gave them time to play balls through, and ultimately that goal, I think I said in the match review, we didn't apply enough pressure and maybe they got tired, so it'll be interesting how both of them do this game. Fingers crossed Nagbe is fully fit and will be playing. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if towards the end of the game they do start to tire. Hopefully not. But everyone in the team really is going to have to pull a big shift tonight and work for maybe 75 minutes plus, or most of them 90. So in the attack, I've gone for Asprilla right wing, Diego Valeri centre attacking midfielder, Blanco left wing, and Fernando Adi up top. So the attack really has the most options out of anywhere else on the pitch. We have Ebabise on the bench and Arboleda. Now they'll be looking to make an impact in the second half, hopefully, if things aren't going our way, maybe, and also come on in the wide areas to do a defensive role and protect the fullbacks against the tricky wingers of Chicago Fire. But yeah, not a lot really has to be said about the attacking lineup. I mean, Asprilla, he's earned his position in the team. He's played well recently. I thought he was playing up until when he got taken off against Sporting KC. He was having a pretty good game. He was doing his defensive work and putting in some good balls into the box. Diego Valeri, not a lot has to be said about him. I mean, the goal that he scored against Sporting was unbelievable. It just shows if you give him time and space, he will punish you. So fingers crossed Chicago do give him some time in the attacking third and he can punish them. So left wing, I've gone for Sebastian Blanco. Not a lot of options there, but I think he is a fantastic player. He's a real talent, just like Diego Valeri, can produce magic out of nothing. Before his red card, he was producing the magic. He scored that beautiful curling top hand corner goal. So hopefully after his suspension and after the Sporting KC game, he can start now to get back into form and scoring and assisting goals. So lastly, up top, we have the big man, Fernando Adi. I thought had a pretty good game against Sporting KC. I mean, won us that penalty. You know, held the ball up pretty well against some good KC defenders. But, you know, he will have a big test today against Chicago. They've got a good defence as well, and it'll be interesting to see how he fares up against them. The only real substitute being made for Adi that I could see would be Ebobisse on for him. It'll be interesting to see if that does happen, and how Ebobisse can affect the game, if we could go for a 4-4-2 or would keep it to the 4-2-3-1 formation. Be interesting to see how the game plays out, and yeah, overall it's just going to be weird to watch and see how Caleb Porter treats the game and manages it, what his formation and starting lineup will be. All interesting stuff, and I can't wait for the game tonight. So the match is on at 7:30 local Portland time, which is an absolute pain for me with the 8-hour time difference. Me being based here in England, Cambridge, it's an absolute pain. I have to wake up at probably 3:20 a.m. to watch the game, to find a stream 10 minutes before kickoff, and then to enjoy it, hopefully, until the Timbers get a result. Now, if any of you guys have a guaranteed stream that you find always works for the Timbers, feel free to let me know via Twitter or in the comments section below. But cannot wait. It'll be a very interesting tie. And yeah, roll on Chicago. So before I wrap up the video, I'll give you my score prediction. I'm going for a 2-1 win for the Timbers. I definitely think we can do one over on Chicago, and it'll be a bit of a shock to the rest of the MLS. I think we've got enough quality in attack, and our defence did well against Sporting KC, so why wouldn't it do well against Chicago? But yeah, that brings us to the end of the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, and let me know in the comments section what you think the lineup will be, your score prediction on the game. And if you're new here, subscribe, and helps keep me motivated to make more Timbers video. But again, thank you for all the support recently. It's been overwhelming. I love to make these videos and see you guys comment on them and things like that. It's been fantastic. But until the next time, I'll see you soon.